I have spent the majority of the last 3 years of my life in isolation and solitude. And I know that many people struggle with loneliness and think it's a bad thing. And a lot of people suffer from it. So I'm going to explain how I've been able to kind of deal with it over the past few years and how I've been able to overcome it and actually come to kind of enjoy it. So I think starting out, a lot of people struggle with loneliness because they can't sit with themselves. They struggle with being by themselves for long periods of time because living in their head is a nightmare. They don't talk nice to themselves, is the main problem. And I have dealt with this personally on my self improvement journey that I went on when I was in college. I remember when I started working really hard, I lost a lot of friends because I stopped hanging out with people and I stopped going out to hangouts and parties with them when I was in college. And this self-improvement journey that I started caused me to feel a lot of these negative emotions that a lot of people feel when they're quote unquote lonely. And the reason for this is because I was by myself a lot, and the reason why I started the self-improvement journey is because I felt like a loser and I felt like I wasn't a good enough man. That's what I always told myself in my head, that I wasn't a good enough man for my future family, for my future friends, for any endeavor that I wanted to go on. I just wasn't good enough. And that's what I always told myself. So being alone inside my own head felt pretty horrible. And that is what I realized a lot of people struggle with when they talk about being lonely. Because if you love yourself, being lonely is great. And that's what I'm going to get into today. People need to start making themselves their best friend, someone they like spending time with, and talk nice to themselves in their own head. And that's how you can kind of deal with loneliness until you find your people in the future. When you're in a period of loneliness, because when you improve yourself, it's going to happen. You're going to outgrow the old people you used to get along with, but you're not quite going to be good enough yet to find your new group of people. And that's going to be what's known as the lonely chapter. And when you're in that lonely chapter, like I said, you need to make yourself your best friend, somebody you can spend time with and enjoy life with, because that's all you've got. And that's how you can get better at dealing with loneliness. And the second that I started doing this on my self-improvement journey in college, I started working on myself more. And the longer I stayed disciplined and started talking to myself nicer, I started to build confidence because I was working hard. And I saw that. And I realized that I am becoming a better person. And I'm starting to enjoy spending time with myself, even though it can feel lonely sometimes. But once you start realizing that you're your best friend and you start talking nice to yourself, being in your own company and being lonely, which I call nowadays just being alone, it actually starts to become enjoyable because you're seeing your own growth in yourself and you're talking nice to yourself and you love yourself, which means that it's less about loneliness and it's more about being alone with yourself and working hard in solitude, which I've personally grown to love just by loving spending time with myself more and talking nicer to myself, which is what being alone is all about. And so when people say they struggle with being lonely, what they really mean is they don't like themselves and they don't like being in the company of themselves. That's what they're really saying. Because when you love yourself, being lonely is nothing more than just being alone. And once you start to really grow, being alone and working on yourself and working hard on whatever journey you're on starts to become more enjoyable. So I was able to enjoy being alone and working on myself just by making myself my companion and learning to talk nice to myself. And that is how you conquer the bad feeling of loneliness. Thank you for watching.